Welcome and thanks for joining us. My guests today are Ed Walters. He's the Chief Customer Officer at the General Services Administration. Dr. Linda Davis is the Chief Veterans Experience Officer at the Department of Veterans Affairs. We've got Chris Green. He's the Deputy Chief Operating Officer for the Student Experience and Aid Delivery for Student Federal Aid at the Department of Education. And Maria Country, the Regional Vice President at Zendesk. It is good to have you all on. Our topic today is customer experience, customer satisfaction, delivering services in the way that Americans and our other constituents, that is, other agencies, as the case might be, or institutional constituents, want to get them and to try to match the kind of experience they get when dealing with the best of the private sector. We don't want to say all of the private sector because some of that's behind government when it comes to service delivery. But why don't we start with this question to kind of set the scene here, and that is, what is it your agency is trying to accomplish in customer experience, customer service? And we'll start with Ed Walters of GSA.
Hey, Tom. Thanks for having me. I'm first time on the show. Really appreciate it. I know you had Tracy DiMartini, our head of human resources, on the other day, and we're glad to be here. We have customer experience challenges similar to other organizations out there, but I'm proud to say that my predecessors and the leadership at GSA and all the employees have really built a customer-centric culture. So I think it's really that understanding on what our purpose is for existing and supporting the customers. We also have done an excellent job with what we were terming the voice of the customer. So looking at all the customer data that's already available out there through web analytics, other data that's collected directly from those in our agency that deal with our customers. And then on top of that, doing robust surveys to fill in the gap. We are able to listen that way through all these mechanisms on what the customer needs are. We're able then to understand and think of things from a human-centered design standpoint and methodology, and then we're able to act. And I would say we've been very successful at making incremental improvements to our products and services. My team, the OCE, Office of Customer Experience, has been very successful in building strategy, research, capacity building. So we do things for others in the organization. As you know, we have PBS, we have FAS, and then under FAS, we have TTS that does a lot throughout the government for transformation technology services. And we just try to make sure we're integrating ourselves with all those other organizations and build that capacity. So we've been very successful at not only building that culture at the top of the agency and providing that advice and expertise at the top of the agency, but we see customer experience being realized at the grassroots level too. So it's sort of a top-down approach and a bottoms-up approach, which I've been very excited about.
And of course, in many ways, GSA has as its main constituent other federal agencies in great measure, correct?
Yes, we not only support within our office, GSA, but we support agencies, and like Linda and her team has participated on CAP goals. We've been very engaged, and Linda will probably talk about something later called the CX cookbook that they were primarily the author of, but I'm proud to say that our teammates also got together with their team and other cross-functional, other agency customer experience professionals to produce that. We're also working on a CX toolkit that we're going to make available that brings together case studies and tools. So one of the things I'm very excited about the customer experience community in the federal government is how collaborative we are and how we're not working in silos. We're really thinking about how do we support other agencies and ultimately support the American public.
Okay, since you were mentioned next, Dr. Davis, why don't you go ahead and tell us, there's so many domains that Veterans Affairs operates in with the 14, 15, 16, 18 million veterans that it deals with. Tell us your customer experience goals and strategies.
Thank you very much, Tom. It's an honor to be with everyone today. We were fortunate that in 2015, then Secretary McDonald identified the need for customer experience, customer service. And in 2018, our current secretary, Wilkie, made that the #1 priority. So the Veteran Experience Office, which I lead, has been able to bring in the best in data, tools, technology, and personnel to support all of those applications in service to our veterans, our families, caregivers, and survivors, to make sure every single day that they have what they need in terms of the benefits they've earned, the care they've earned, and all the resources and services. Now, of course, we were doing that for several years, and thank goodness, because when COVID struck, we not only had the responsibility to ensure the life and safety of our veterans and their caregivers and survivors in many, many cases, but also we have a fourth requirement, and that is to support the civilian sector as needed. So during this time, our greatest challenge has been to apply all of these capabilities we already have, and Ed alluded to many of them that are similar to his, that we've shared in our CX cookbook. But we've applied them during the Operation Warp Speed, especially in areas like clinical trial outreach, how you get research and the vaccines to do the trials, and how we're supporting our staff in their delivery of care in these challenging times. We start our delivery of services not only during pandemics, but every single day by listening to the voice of the veteran. And that is whether they're through the surveys, through our hotline and agent calls, whether it's through direct engagement in the communities. We have a variety of ways in which we listen. Once we understand what the veterans wanted, and we did this a quick assessment during COVID, we wanted to respond applying our data tools and technology to what matters most to them. So veterans told us right away they were concerned about the safety in the medical facilities. They wanted to see people wearing masks. They wanted to be able to make sure it was clean. They wanted to have telehealth access, physical distancing, things that we're using on the outside. So just a couple quick examples of what we were able to do using all the capabilities of the data tools and technologies. We developed an app, for instance, that enables veterans to sit in their car and be notified when their appointment is ready so they don't have to wait in a facility. We have a Green Gloves initiative to make sure that the staff are empowered to demonstrate that the facilities are clean. Our 411 contact center allows veterans to do a self-assessment for information that they need. We've sent out over 40 million vet text announcements directly to veterans, letting them know what the facility that serves them, its capacity, when they should come in, very specific, tailored information. We've created virtual action centers, one-stops virtually, that have brought in all the expertise of the department to be able to assist and serve them. Numerous things we've been able to do because we were ready with the data tools and technology and the entire our staff.
I just wanted to congratulate Linda because I am a veteran who is using your facilities. I've noticed a big difference. I've been operated on at the VA facility here in Washington, D.C. I've gone to many different appointments and I've noticed your initiatives, and I want to congratulate you also on the digital customer experience that you're providing, where it is very evident of the effort in terms of multiple ways to sign in, verify credentials, and go to one place to get your medication, look at your medical appointments, and all those other things that you added that are COVID related. I congratulate you on, and your team and the secretary on the flexibility that you've given. It's really noticeable from a consumer veteran standpoint.
All right, it's good to have some customer testimony right here on the panel. And Chris Green of the Student Aid Office at the Department of Education, you've got a whole different constituent and a very large one. Tell us about your customer experience strategy.
Sure. Happy New Year, Tom. Thanks so much for having us on. As Dr. Davis said, it's a real honor to be amongst my colleagues across government. So at Office of Federal Student Aid, as the name implies, we administer the student aid programs to help students go to pursue college, career schools, things of that nature. If you've ever taken out a direct loan, or you have a Pell Grant, or you completed the FAFSA, you've worked with us. We have about 44 million customers. Many of them are people who are either going to school or in school, and then a whole lot of those are customers who have taken out direct loans or other types of aid like that and are paying us back. So we have real challenges. Some of the challenges we face is that we have a very disjointed experience, and it's not something that we set out to do. It is what it is. So for example, a student will apply using the FAFSA for federal student aid from us. They will then get aid dispersed by the school with no reference to the Department of Education. The student will then get out of college if they have a loan, will begin to make payments to a third party that has no real connection to the Department of Education and isn't branded as such. And so, you know, in many instances, this is the first time these customers are dealing with the federal government. It's the first time they're dealing with commercial credit. And so having this disjointed experience and coupling that with kind of these firsts in people's lives really makes it critically important for us to get this right. So about 2 years ago in 2018, we sat down to really map out what are our true customer pain points. We went out, we interviewed customers, we interviewed people in the community, we talked to schools, you know, and we talked to community associates to say, what is troubling people? And some of the things, you know, clearly stem from the things we already knew. There were things that we learned that we didn't know. We took those findings, things like, you know, I don't know who to contact. I don't know what phone number to contact. You know, when we service 40 odd million borrowers, we have 11 different servicers. Each one has their own 800 number. People don't know where to go. So after compiling all this information, we put a plan together called NextGen FSA. And we started that about 1.5 years ago. And what that's really meant to do is create the best customer experience possible for these folks. That's commensurate with, you know, Apple, you know, any Fortune 100 bank or corporation in the US, or some of my peers here on the call. And so that's what we've been undertaking. It is not something that happens overnight. It will take us several more years, but the idea is to create a single unified experience with federal student aid as a trusted partner to help folks gain the resources they need to go to college and then to manage their obligations once they complete it.
Interesting. Yeah. So again, the data idea and talking to actual customers and constituents seems to be the basis. And so let's ask Maria Country of Zendesk, what are the trends you see across the government? How are people approaching this from your view that spans many of the agencies?
Yeah, so I mean, I think in listening to Ed, Linda, and Chris, I think a lot of them are similarly somewhat challenged and also ahead of the game as far as wanting to listen to their customers, right? I mean, it all starts with understanding what the challenges are the customers are facing. I think in this 2020 unprecedented time, what we're seeing, and Dr. Davis had said that they kind of had a head start, which was great. There are unprecedented volumes now. That's what we're seeing across the government. They're really challenged with the unprecedented volumes that they're trying to handle with constituents and even internal government employees trying to get information to help service constituents. And then put on top of that, the remote workforce challenge. We saw that also in the private sector, but in the government sector as well. So how do you not only handle these unprecedented volumes, but then how do you service them when you can't have the same volume of people staffed in an office to help to help service them. So those are really the two big challenges we've seen, especially in 2020 during this time of the pandemic.
Interesting. Okay, we're going to pull on all of those threads, but right now we're going to take a short break. I'm your moderator, Tom Temin. Our discussion is Improving the Digital Customer Experience in Government, sponsored by Zendesk here on Federal News Network.